Hello, everyone. Thank you all for participating in our competition. So this wraps it up. We will first we'll play our 5th mini game, and then after this we'll go over the competition results. We will live stream a few of the write-ups for Mr. Kaysen problems, and then we'll talk about prizes. But thank you all for participating. It's one of our it is the biggest event that we've ever organized. We do want to thank all of our sponsors for helping us support this competition. It would not be possible for us to do it without them. You know, the prizes, the swag, all of those things are possible because of them. I would like to highlight a few sponsors first, and we'll play some of their videos now.
On the front lines of cybersecurity, attackers are battling to control our connected future. Winning this fight will take a new kind of defender. One with the sharpness to uncover what others miss along the way. The visibility to spot danger anywhere it hides. The wisdom to put together all the pieces. And the courage to respond with force. As defenders, we are stronger as one. Together, we can take back the power. Together, we can reverse the adversary advantage. Together, we can end malicious operations. From endpoints across the enterprise to everywhere, we are the defenders. Together, we were made for this mission. Are you in?
Thank you, everyone. So right now we're gonna, while we're still finalizing some of the scores in our final presentation, we're gonna go and do the minigame, and that's our last one of the day. And as a reminder, you're eligible to win a few more prizes. So this does not affect your final score, but top 3 participants will receive small prizes and swag. So the link is up here at the top, and we're going to post it in the Discord channel as well. And so let's wait a few more minutes until everybody shows up. I think there is a pretty significant delay this time. I forgot to change the settings in our YouTube stream to reduce the latency. So we'll see how this goes. But I'll wait a bit between each stream, each question. Let's see, let's wait until maybe 2 more minutes. In the meantime, I'll try to address some of the chat questions that participants might have had. Let's see. Oh, yeah, a lot of people didn't sleep. You know, our admin team didn't sleep either. I think at some point we had over 30 or 35 tickets open at the same time in the middle of the night. So it took a lot of effort and took a lot of people to run this event. As I mentioned, this is the biggest competition we've ever put on. Let's see. There are going to be no more bonus flags here because the competition is over. It's not going to affect your score. So unfortunately, not this time. Let me see if there are any other. Well, some people slept. Okay. Okay, then. Oh, so you might notice that the platform says that the competition will end in 1 year. Since the competition is over, we reopen the challenges again in case you want to take another look at them, in case you want to practice, in case you want to solve them. I think there is one challenge that hasn't been solved by any teams, and so you're welcome to try and solve that. But the challenges will remain up at least for some time, and at least for a month or two. So you're welcome to publish write-ups, discuss them. I'm going to talk more about the write-up competition in a bit, but let's see. Okay, so I think we have a lot of people here already, so we're going to begin. Let me see if anybody else from my team wanted to join. Nope. Okay, so as a reminder, there are 10 questions. You have 15 seconds to answer each of the questions, and the quicker you answer the question, the more points you'll get. And at the end, top 3 will get the prizes. So, and then there was a question about opening the scoreboard. We're going to open that after we announce the winners. All right, so we're going to start now. Oh, I have to press start a quiz. I keep messing this up. Come on. Okay, start quiz. First question, which of the following is not a recognized API design standard or technology for building web applications? I'll hide my face. Let's see how you'll do. All right. Nice. Okay, that's pretty good. And I think the turnout for this competition is much bigger than what we had last time. And people are really enjoying this. So, each of these, in order for this to show up, you have to press it. So I think last time somebody wrote a bot, but we'll see. All right, congratulations to Lovefish and ICP and V and Tim and the rest. All right, next question. Let's see how well you know your terminology. We used to have some phishing challenges in the past at our previous competitions, but those require a lot of people to support and actually be online and and listening for calls and reading at emails. But nice. I'll be honest. I personally didn't know the answer to this, but the majority did.
You really thought it was swishing?
Well, I didn't know what it was. I mean, I knew it was not phishing, but I mean, phishing doesn't sound any better than swishing or dishing. Let's see. Looks like places stayed almost the same. And I'm going a bit slow because of the time delay, just to make sure y'all have sufficient time to answer. Let's see. Yeah, and so there are some questions in the chat about submissions and attempts. Right now, we haven't had the time to actually change the scoreboard, so change the platform and the scoreboard. So right now everything is in read-only mode, so you will not be able to submit and test your answers. But maybe tomorrow or later today, or later this week, whenever we get enough rest, we'll try to go back and actually make it possible so you can go back and you can try submitting the answers, but the scoreboard will not change. Let's see, a few more questions. Let's see, how will we know this one? Nice. It's pretty impressive that most of the majority is getting most of the answers right, because at some of our previous some of our previous mini games, we had multiple questions where the correct answer was the least picked. And also, if you have any questions for the live stream, I will start looking at the live stream chat. Oh, nice job. All right, so I think the leaderboard is starting to become more clear, but there is a lot of room for change. So, okay, so this question, I know people will disagree on, and I can say this because of the delay, but well, just in case the delay is not enough, I'm not going to tell what the answer is, but I suspect that people will not get this right. Yep. Oh, I'm worried about the Discord channel right now. But the reason it's number 2 is because the other answers, they apply to most of the other SQL injections, not specifically blind injection. I mean, in almost any SQL injection, you're probably not going to know the names of tables or columns. I mean, okay, if you think that's definitely wrong, post it in the Discord channel, and we'll try to communicate there. But blind SQL injection specifically refers to when you you can't extract data in sets, so you have to pretty much extract it one bit at a time. Okay, well, explain why if that's wrong.
Also, just to interject, if you wrote up a write-up for any of the problems, we now have the write-ups channel, which you can post it in. It was previously set for read-only during the competition, but you can post them now. And we'll be going over a few of the problems in walkthroughs later on in the closing. But we're going to go over at least some of the case and problems, and then the symbol format problem, and I hate Python. And maybe others, we'll see.
Let's see. Maybe I shouldn't have included the blind SQL. Well, no, I'm going to be confident that my answer was right, and I'm not going to take it back.
I'm confident too.
Okay.
You don't need to have any regrets.
I knew this will happen. Okay, nice job, everyone, on this question. You have, I think, just 3 more. It's actually pretty impressive that all of the binary exploitation challenges have been solved at least once. Because in the beginning, those were the main ones that were remaining, and it's pretty impressive. Okay. I think specifically in C#, that might be the right answer. All right. Just 2 more questions. I think on your screens it should show up more nicely. Okay, so the reason this is, I'm pretty sure that this answer would still be interpreted as a string, but this is the standard way to send parameters via GET requests. All right, and the last question. Let's see. Three, two. Oh, nice job, everyone. So let's see who won.
I'm still concerned about the number of people who thought he was a bus driver or anything else.
Really?
I mean, I don't know.
Well, I think some people on Teams might have solved this.
Yeah, some people didn't try to solve those problems. But if you try to solve those problems, then you probably knew that answer within like 0.1 seconds.
But congratulations to player, Robin, show the scores, Jay. Okay, well, we'll show the scores as soon as we announce the winners. But thank you, everyone. So I think right now we're gonna continue with the presentation.
Yeah, I think we're gonna pass it off to Mariah now, right?
Yep.
Okay.
So let me set that up real quick. Okay. Hi, Mariah.
Hi.
So Mariah is one of our co-founders. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
All right. Well, hello, everyone. This is, officially the closing ceremonies for CyberGames 2021. So congratulations, first of all, for making it this far. So we'll go over a few different things during this debrief. So we'll first do a thank you to all of you, and then also all of the people that put this event together. And then we'll do a debrief. We'll go over a few fun facts and stats from the event. And then we'll also go over the final rankings. So we'll specifically go over the top 5 teams. And then, like Roman said, the actual scoreboard will be open after we go through all of this. And then we'll also do a quick challenge review of maybe some of your favorite challenges, maybe your least favorite challenges that you all solved. And so the actual challenge developers that made those will go through and actually share their solution for those challenges and how at least they intended them to be solved, which might be a little bit different than you all solved, which is totally fine. And then we'll also go over a few new challenges that we'll have after CyberGames. And then we'll also have a Q&A at the end for any outstanding questions that you all might have. So to start off, we want to say thank you. Roman, if you could switch to the next. Yeah, so we want to say thank you. And first, we want to say thank you for the memes. So you all shared a lot of great memes throughout the event. So we just wanted to highlight some of our favorites here. I'm not going to read them to you all because I know that you've seen them throughout the event, but we personally love these. And they were, really great to laugh at, especially when we're answering all those mod mail messages. So thank you. And to everyone that made these, great job. There's definitely some of our favorites. And then on the next slide here, we have a few of our admin memes. So some of these were as we were trying to answer a lot of the mod mail messages, some of the threads that we had to keep open for a while, especially with format strings, that one in the middle. There were a lot of questions about format strings. I think that's one of the challenges that we'll go over during the challenge review. And then there's another slide here that has a few more memes that the admin team used throughout the event, especially when every time we closed one mod mail message, we got 3 in return. And then my personal favorite on the bottom right, I know the veggies challenge kept going down. So Roman unfortunately spun up another vegetable and then made sure that they were load balanced. So that was one of my personal favorites. All right, so we also want to give a thank you to everyone that made this event possible. we were with you all for the last 48 hours, but there was a lot of work that went into this event, months before and getting this all together. So a huge shout out to the problem creators listed there on the left of the slide there. They're the ones that really made this possible, put together all of those challenges that you all solved throughout the event. And then hopefully you learned something as you were solving those challenges as well. So huge shout out to them. And then, thank you to the speakers for sharing your time with us, for sharing your expertise with us, taking the time in the live stream to share that with everyone here. And then to the mentors, thank you for taking the time to, talk to some of the participants here and give them advice, whether that's on a career or breaking into the cybersecurity industry or just resume advice. I know that was definitely valuable to the participants, so thank you for taking the time. And then we also have the MetaCTF staff, so the team that you've worked with on the live stream, as well as some that might have been working behind the scenes here that have been working to put this event together. So, thank you to the rest of the staff, and make sure to give everyone a shout out in the Discord channel if there's somebody that definitely, helped you out during this event. All right, so we have a few fun stats that we'll go over. And after we do the stats, we'll go through final rankings. So in terms of participation, we had over 3,300 users in this competition. Like Roman said, this is the biggest event that we've ever hosted. So thank you all for being part of that, first of all. Thanks for participating. Of those users, we had 1,900 teams. There were about 1,300 that were actually active, but that's still, a lot more than we've had in the past. In terms of challenges themselves, we had 66 different problems. 2 of those did remain unsolved, and those will be available for you all to continue working on. And then across those problems, we had 55,000 different submissions for attempting to submit a flag there. So awesome job there. And then on the bonuses side, we definitely had a few questions about these, but we had 13 different bonuses. And so of those bonuses, we had about 1,441 submissions. And so for the bonuses, they were in a few different places, but just to give you a few, there were bonuses throughout the live stream. There were bonuses on our Twitter. There were bonuses on the live stream itself, outside of the challenges, just in the background itself, and then throughout some of the talks. So there's definitely a few different bonuses. If you have any, questions about, a specific one that you might have missed. Oh, and there's another one in the blog post as well for how to prepare for CyberGames. So in a few different places. And then in terms of locations, we had over 110 different countries participate this year, which is awesome. And then we had participants from all 50 states in the US. So that was awesome as well. And then, our final stat here, mod mail messages. We didn't really have that many mod mail messages that I have on the slide there. But we did have 1,231 different tickets that were open through mod mail throughout the event. Granted, that's for, however many users you had, but not everybody opened a ticket. And then of those tickets, we had 11,611 different messages that went back and forth between the admin team and then you all. And so, we have 3,300 users. As you saw on that thank you slide, we do not have that many people on the admin team. So we appreciate you all being patient with us as we answered your questions, and then hopefully it was helpful as well. So those are our, fun stats for the CTF. If you have any specific stats that you're curious in, feel free to post those questions in Discord. And next, what some of you have probably been waiting for, we're going to go over final rankings. So for this part, we will go over the top 5 teams. We'll start with who's in 5th place, and we'll work our way up to 1st place. And again, the scoreboard itself will be live after this, and so that'll be available for you all to see the rest of the rankings. So in 5th place, without further ado, we had Kernel Poppers. So congratulations, you all. And I guess before I go over some of the other ones, we'll announce, the top 5 places, but we'll discuss the actual prizes and stuff later. In 4th place for CyberGames 2021, we have Sig Pony. So congratulations, you all. And in 3rd place, we have Zero Tolerance. Awesome job there. And then in 2nd place, we have Sexgading. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong, but congratulations, you all. And then last but not least, in 1st place for CTF CyberGames 2021, we have Noob. So congratulations, you all. And another fun stat is that a lot of the top teams were actually student teams. So congratulations, students. You all did an awesome job. Everyone in this competition did an awesome job. And as we'll go over later, congratulations for all the points that you all scored and the rankings. But honestly, for us, the most important thing is that you learned something. So hopefully if you learned something, then that means that you won already. So congratulations, you all. Make sure to congratulate them in the channel, but also congratulate your team members and yourself, for making it through the challenge and hopefully learning something along the way. And Roman, I think you're muted if you're adding something.
And I do want to say that the scoreboard has been released. So if you go back, you can actually look at the scores for all teams, not just top 5, and you can look at the stats. Yep. So
all right.
Now that, sorry, Mariah.
All good. So next we're going to go over some of the challenges that were solved. So first up, we have your favorite person of the CTF, besides Roman. We have Mr. Casson. So these are some of the memes that you all made, which were fantastic, by the way. So we're going to have the challenge developer go over one of them. I think that we're going to have him go over specifically online presence, but we're still available in Discord as well if there's questions on some of the others.
We're gonna invite the challenge creator to the stream. He goes by Dr. Dinosaur.
Hello.
So go ahead.
Okay, I'll share my screen. Is it viewable?
Yep.
Okay. So let's look at online presence. So it says that Vitor used Reddit the past 2 weeks, and he's posted some comments on some major subreddits related to his Bane career interest and near his local area. So to identify these subreddits, we can take a look at his website, which we can just get from a simple search. If we look at the top here, it sees like works at Planet Fitness, he's an athletic trainer, kinesiology, he has some nutrition stuff. So just kind of like some generic keywords I would search would be like fitness subreddit and nutrition subreddit. And if you just search those in Google, we see a fitness subreddit and a nutrition subreddit. If you look at the number of subscribers or members, they're both really high, so that would make sense. Especially as like a new user, you just want to use the most generic subreddits. And if you look at the challenge, it says there are 2 major, both have 500K plus subscribers, work-related subreddits. So we can just work for these for now, and if they don't work, then we can try some other ones later. So now we want to look at his local area. So if we search him on his website, he's in the Chicagoland area, and if we look at his LinkedIn, we'll see that he is currently at Hammond, Indiana. So if we just do a simple search for Hammond, Indiana subreddit, the first one that comes up is r/Indiana. And we have ones for Chicago too. Maybe Chicago suburbs is on here. I don't see it right now, but it seems like the main one is Indiana. So we can just work for that. So now that we have a few subreddits that he's on, if we think about this logically, we can just try to see who's on all of those subreddits, since it's kind of unlikely that within the past 2 weeks, someone has commented on both fitness and nutrition in Indiana. So that seems like a good way to kind of narrow him down. So if you just search how to find users on multiple subreddits, we see here someone has asked this exact question, and like, how do we do this? And someone responded that I have a script that does that for us. So if we take a look at the script on GitHub, it looks like it does exactly that. So you can modify the subreddits, users we ignore, and the loopback days. So we can change this to 14 based on the problem description, and add our subreddits in of nutrition, fitness in Indiana. So we just modified the script as such. Here I set it to 6 days to make it faster, but 14 days also works. And basically it just queries this API to see, who's in all these subreddits. And so we just run that with Python. And if we look at the results, we see that there's one commenter in all of the subreddits. So if we take a look at those results in users.txt, we see one commenter in all subreddits, DCD number 1. So if we look that guy up on Reddit, here's his profile, new user, so it fits. We see some of his comments. He's a fan of cycling, wish it was easier in the suburbs. He lives in the suburbs, so that makes sense. He says, I have some experience. And this guy is asking about, a personal trainer, and Vader's a personal trainer, so that fits. He recommends smoothies and frozen berries. And if you look at his website and his nutrition information, he does recommend, frozen fruits and smoothies. So all of that seems to make sense. And the problem asks for the shortest comment. So if we look at his profile, the shortest comment is this one. It's only 4 words. So if we just grab this comment with this share URL, then we can get the information that we need, this part and this part. And that's how you solve the challenge. It was a bit more difficult than anticipated. I think because some people had other subreddits, or maybe they're trying other location subreddits as well. So I added some hints to make it a bit clearer. One thing that's interesting is that although he comments on Chicago suburbs and Chicago, they don't really appear in the script. That could be because initially they weren't posted, so maybe it's kind of a bug or something didn't get processed correctly. So we did comment on those, but with the script solution, the main subreddit in our results is the one you should have used. Some people were having issues like with the script, maybe with some of the results. Whenever I've tried it, it has worked 100% of the time. But some users maybe were having bugs, or with a different IDE or environments, they didn't always return the right data or something. But eventually, I helped those people out, and it all seemed to work. So yeah, that was the challenge. It was initially pretty low because the script kind of just solved it for you. But yeah, that's the challenge.
So there was a question.
Yeah, what's the question?
Stop sharing screen. Let me bring back. So what was the tool used for scanning usernames?
So I guess I'll share my screen again. Share screen. Okay, so this was the tool that was used. It's called Overlap Counter, and it was found from searching how to find users on multiple subreddits, or other similar queries. And this guy's the developer of it. So it's in his like a sketch pad. So it's not like maybe you had a couple of issues finding it if you had like different queries for your Google search, but it was like the first thing I found. So, but yeah, it's just called overlapcounter.py, and it's actually like very intuitive and easy to use. So it was quite nice for the challenge.
That's good. Well, thank you. Are you going to go over any other Mr. Cason challenges, or just this one?
I don't have the others like I guess prepared as this one.
So I think there was a question, and I think this is for a different challenge. But in which forest? What is the?
Yeah, where's Vader? which forest was he in?
Yep.
So Vitor is in the User National Forest. And this is actually this is like the most popular forest, I think. Some people got cut off because it said public forest and they thought state forest, but you can also have federal forest. That's also a public entity. And this forest, it said forest area because this forest has like a very big forest boundary. This website is really terrible, but I think that there's like a map here somewhere where it shows you the like where exactly this forest boundary is, but it extends quite a bit, and the location is in Indiana, so it's pretty nearby. And if you looked at the challenge, you could see it seemed like it was kind of like on a major road. And it was on the left side. So if you follow this, and it seems like it had to be kind of not super rural, but kind of rural, and this town kind of fits that vibe because there's enough infrastructure to support like that kind of building. And so this is like 64 is like the main road. So if you just scroll past this and observe, you can eventually find here's the funeral home. So if you look at the picture, it has like two buildings and they're both gray and they're like this parking lot and it's alongside of this road and there's a lot of forest behind it. So that's where this location is. I think some people identified that based on looking at this image that it was a funeral home, and that's definitely probably would help narrow it down because there aren't that many funeral homes probably, but you still had to apply some effort to look for it.
Good. Thank you. I guess as the the authority on this, how do you pronounce his name properly?
I always said Peter Kaysen.
Well, sounds good. Well, all right. Well,
I guess I can kind of go over this new spot one a bit. I won't show it further, but I can just kind of explain it.
Sounds good. Yeah, definitely.
So this one only had 7 solves, but someone actually solved it very fast. I was impressed by them. So basically, he is visiting this event, and you have to. The hint tells you to search for it, like on some event websites. So one of the most popular ones is Eventbrite. So if you search on Eventbrite, you can filter by free health events in the Chicago area, and then if you look at one of them, then you'll see it. It's kind of obvious that it's the correct event because, just based on the description. So it says that it's hosted by his friend, and on the event page, you'll see his friend's name, Justin Rodriguez. So if you look at and then here it says, I'm not sure where he hangs out now, but it seems everyone has a Finsta these days. If you Google Finsta, it means it's like a more private, like Instagram account. So it kind of gives you a hint that the next part of the challenge is on Instagram. So if you look at the location on Instagram for the event, which is at a hotel, then you'll see that Justin Rodriguez, his Instagram profile, posted a picture, and he said he was missing his bro, and Vitor is our missing bro, and he in one of the pictures he tags Vitor's Instagram account, and if you go to Vitor's Instagram account, it has some pictures, and you have to identify where he's at. So if we look at Indiana, him in Indiana, that's near where Vitor is. Then we can see that there's a lot of water in the background. There are some water towers. So we have like some potential areas here. So if we just look around and we look in the satellite view, in the picture, you'll see it has like this type of road or trail at the edge of the park area. So this matches, and then also these things, almost like islands, like they match in the picture. And also there are a lot of like power towers at towards the end. And here you can see there are several towers. So that's how you found the park he was at, and then it's just a matter of copying this to get the flag.
That's good. Thank you. And I want to thank Dr. Dinosaur once again, because he is the one behind all of these challenges for both this year and last year. And without him, there's no way we would have made this challenge that has become a really big portion of our event. So thank you.
And we certainly hope that Mr. Kaysen doesn't get lost again next year.
Yeah, but no promises. Vitor, he's he tends to get lost, so hopefully you guys can be ready to find him all the time.
It's a good thing we have all of these sleuths to find him and bring him home every year.
Vitor definitely appreciates you guys. So thank you.
Okay. Which challenge do we have next, Rowan?
So the next one we have is the simple format one, and this is a binary exploitation challenge. It was written by LMS, and I think he's ready. We can do an overview. Let me just confirm. Yep. So here we go.
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Hey. Yeah, we can hear you.
Perfect.
You're a bit quiet, so maybe if you can move.
I'll speak up a little bit then. So a lot of people had some problems with simple format challenge, and I'm just going to try and give an example of kind of the best approach to go about it. When you open the files given to you, you can see that you have a fundamentals binary, and if you were to disassemble it or look at it in Ghidra, you could kind of get a sense of what's actually happening with the source code. I'll just do it in GDB real quick, kind of get a disassembly of it. We can kind of see that it just opens up the flag, stores it into the stack, or reads from the flag, stores on the stack. String compares a string that's read from the user and sees if they match, and if it's not, then printfs the data passed in by the user. So this is kind of based on the title and kind of the other information. It's kind of a hint towards it's a format string vulnerability. And as a lot of you have seen or messaged and talked about, is that if you do a bunch of %s's or $$6s, that you might get part of the flag, but that was not or you get part of the flag, but not the whole flag. And that's either partially accidental or not the intended solution. And the intended solution was to realize that the flag is stored on the stack, and what's another way to actually leak stack variables. And my preferred method to actually do this is just a bunch of %ps. So if you just do like 10 of them or so, you can see that, yeah, we'll get some pointers that will change every time we run it, some nil pointers, some other garbage stuff. But then down here, we start to see some bytes that actually appear to be more ASCII range-ish. So if we just kind of copy all these values, let me bring up CyberChef. Get rid of these 0x's because CyberChef doesn't like to handle them.
See if you can zoom in a tiny bit.
Oh yeah. What's that? There we go. We can see from hex. You can kind of see that we have some garbage jumbled stuff. So you got to remember that how memory is stored or how data is stored in memory in a lot of binaries these days is in little endian. So which means you kind of have to reverse it from where it's at. So the best way to do this, I think, is to fork. We'll just replace. I like to just replace spaces with new lines so it handles each line separately. And then we can reverse. From hex, yeah, I'll just get rid of this then. Still need first, I'll just replace these with new lines myself. I'm probably not going to like it because it's doing from hex. So if we add these new lines and move the reverse around, move it in front of the hex. Don't need the fork. Yeah, we do. We still need the fork. I've moved the wrong one around. There we go. And I just did this on an example one, so it prints out the flag I had. This is a filler flag for an example. Just do that here. But if we actually, let me, don't have the IP off the top of my head. So I just, nope, whatever. So we can do the exact same thing pretty much with the remote server and get the flag that way.
And I only learned this recently, but there's actually...
So a lot of you were stuck on the %S's. Oh, go for it.
Well, I was going to say, I only learned this recently, but in CyberChef, there's actually a change in endianness feature as well.
Ooh, is there?
So you can just do that. As long as they're all
is.
padded correctly.
Hey, that's interesting. So another thing that people had problems with was that they were sending in %X's, a bunch of those, and you will get partial, like half the flag again. You can see that we get down here, we start to see ASCII, but the problem with %X's is that by default, they will handle int data, so 4 bytes. But since we're dealing with stacked variables, it will still index by 8 bytes at a time. So you might only get the last 4 bytes of each chunk. So if you wanted to do %X, you would have to say %LLX to specify it's a long or 8 bytes. Maybe even LX. Yeah. You just have to specify the correct value to actually say, I want 8 bytes of data to print out to us. So yeah, that was the intended solution for the simple format.
Good. Thank you, LMS. And you actually wrote all of the binary exploitation challenges here. So thank you for that.
Yeah, glad everyone could get a chance to do some of them.
Yeah, we always get a lot of requests for these kinds of challenges. And I think for me personally, I don't know how to write those. I can only solve, the basic buffer overflows and maybe some string formatting, but a lot of the other ones, I don't have a lot of experience in it. So thank you so much.
Yeah, so if people have further questions about the binary exploitation problems, you can post on Discord and tag LMS.
And the next challenge we have is I hate Python.
Very popular one for obvious reasons, I think. And I think we have Jack here to help explain that problem.
Yep. So we'll bring him on.
Hear me?
Yes,
hey, Jack. Yeah, we can hear you.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen.
Sounds good.
Get this working.
And there was a question about why would a pointer ever be ASCII? So I don't think pointer, I guess there is a slight chance that a pointer would be ASCII, but I think LMS was referring to something different. But if you have questions, you can ask in the Discord server.
Okay, so let's go over this one real quick. There's a lot of random Python weird syntax stuff in here and a lot of just useless obfuscation. So let's go through it little bit by bit. So at the top, we have this do thing function. And at first glance, it seems like it's pretty confusing about what it's actually doing. But if we think about it in more detail, we can see that what this is doing is this is finding the bits in common between A shifted by 1 and B. And this is finding all bits that either of them have. And then it's taking that and saying, find the difference, which is to say, find the bits that one of them has and the other does not, or XOR. So here we have a do thing equivalent, which is much simplified and easier to work with. I'm getting an echo from one of you. Yeah, let me do that real quick. Y'all see this better? Okay, so here's the do thing, and here's the equivalent that is easier to work with and easier to see what it's actually doing. So let's take a look at the actual problem itself here. This first thing we can see is that it's checking to make sure the password is 25 characters long. So that's a pretty easy first thing to fix. From there, we can see it's generating, or it's seeding random with a known number. So that means every time the program gets rerun, it'll have the same random numbers generated. So even though it's saying randint here, that's really just saying generate the same number each time it's run in a way that's non-obvious. So K right now is just a list of random bytes that are up to, or a list of 25 random bytes. Then we can take a look at this next statement here. This one's doing a lot of weird stuff all at once. So let's break it down bit by bit. First off, this is a dictionary comprehension. It's very much like a list comprehension in Python, except it creates a dictionary instead of a list. And let's take a look at what it's actually, enumerating over. So here, the first level we have is enumerate X, which, if you're not familiar, returns a list of tuples where each element is a tuple containing the index as well as the actual value in the list at that point. So here you can see that we're breaking it into B comma C. So B is going to be the index of each element, and C is going to be the value of each element in X, and X is your input. And then we say we're zipping that up with K, and zip basically says take the elements from the first list and the elements from the second list and combine them into a tuple. So this is saying each element is going to be of the form B comma C, or a tuple of B comma C, and then D. And we can just break that apart with this syntax here and treat them as separate variables. What we're doing with these then is we're saying you can index into the map that we're assigning to A using B. And B, remember, comes from the index part of enumerate. So basically, we're just making a map where you can index into the map using the index that something was originally. So it's basically just another list that you can treat like a list. Then we're saying we want to do thing between the character from the input, because C came from the actual value in the element here, and then the random number we generated. So then we go through and we create a separate list, and this is basically, B is going to be just 1 through 24, because range generates from 0 to whatever is passed into it, and we're randomly reordering it. What we're doing then is we're going through that list backwards and saying C is an array where we've indexed into this map using the random index generated by this shuffle. Then finally, we have this statement right here that says, here's what we're expecting. Let's go through and use this weird Python stuff to make sure that basically what we're doing here is we're saying, we're enumerating this, and for each element in the enumeration, we're checking that element's index into Kn, and we're making sure it matches what we've generated in S. Then what we do is we convert that the results in the filter to a list, and we compare the length of it. So basically, we're just checking to see the number of characters that match what's expected in this Kn list. And so if we take this, we can work backwards. And I'm going to go through my solution and explain how it works. So here, I'm going to go ahead and delete all this extra white space so we can compare the two much more quickly. So here I'm doing the same random seed, and instead of just calling it a useless K, I'm calling it XOR key, because you can see here it's being passed into do thing and being used as effectively what's being XORed with the input. So we have that part, and then we say, or we want to generate that same list of reorderings. That's going to be this part right here, the B, except we want to have the inverse of it so we can undo what's being done. So we go through the original list of orderings and we find the index that each thing is moved to, and we create another list for that. Then we have this last comparison, and that's this Kn. And what we're doing is we're going through and deordering it by looking up, or by going through each element in the inverse ordering and using that to index into the last comparison step. Finally, that's going to be XOR encoded. So what we can do there is just, we want to decode it with the XOR key we computed earlier, because this is effectively just return A shifted by 1, XOR B. So B is the second thing that's passed in. Here we can see that in the original call, that's the D, which came from zipping up with K, which is the XOR key. So we can just undo that by doing the same operation. And then we shift it back right by 1. So we get rid of this left shift here. And then we just print out a list of all the characters in the result. Now, you can just brute force this or any other number of solutions, but I wanted to explain how it actually works and how you can go through the different steps of actually executing it. And I will also show my screen where this actually gets solved then. Hang on a second, my window is not showing up in my share screen menu. All right, you should be able to see this now. I'm going to run my script that has the solve, and it just goes through and creates the list and prints out each character one by one, joined by an empty string.
So I think in the comment section, we had a few other possible alternative solutions. If you can see on the screen, here's one.
Yes, so you can absolutely go through and print out things along the way, and that'll make this a lot easier. I just wanted to show this so you could see what was actually happening and think about how you could undo the work on your own.
And here's, yeah, similar one.
Yep, that absolutely works as well. You can definitely just try different characters or try different strings until you see the number that are valid going up, and then you keep that change.
That's cool. Thank you, Jack. So you wrote most of our crypto challenges, and in the past competitions, your challenges are definitely
Notoriously difficult.
notoriously difficult and definitely some of the hardest ones.
And if people have questions about any of the other crypto ones, especially like 2-key crypto, which was very difficult, then feel free to post about that in the Discord and tag Jack.
Yeah, I saw one person actually did look like they solved 2-key crypto right at the end. So I'm glad that one got solved.
Wait, so does that mean that all the challenges got solved?
I believe so, yes.
Sounds good. So maybe after, so I'm going to mention it again in case somebody joined late, but right now the challenges are only available in read-only mode. So if you can see my screen, you can still look at the challenges, you can still see your previous submissions, but you can download the files, but you can't submit them. And we will change this this week or later today. Not sure when, but we'll change it soon. Sounds good. Well, thank you, Jack.
Yeah, no problem. And if anyone has questions about cryptos that aren't being answered in the write-ups channel, I'll be happy to explain in more detail.
Yeah, and about the write-ups channels. So we might post a few solutions there ourselves, but the goal behind that channel is to allow all of you to share your solutions, and say how you did it. And I want to mention later, but we might have a write-up competition. Well, we do definitely have a write-up competition. But I'll turn over to Mariah for a bit.
I think we actually have one more problem to go over. I'm not sure. I think you have an outdated version of the slide set, but I think we're going to go over some of the interception problems first.
Sounds good. Yes. So Nicola wrote those ones, and I'll put you on and feel free to share your screen. Hey. So he goes by @NB on Discord.
Is my mic working?
Can you hear us?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, you're also really quiet.
Let me turn it up. Is this better?
A tiny bit.
Is this better?
Yes, that's better.
Awesome. Let me share my screen.
I think also in settings, if you press settings, there's a way for you to change live stream quality and your video quality, because I think it might be difficult to see or screen share.
Yeah, let me try it actually. I'll just do the entire screen.
Yep. So there's a question. We're going to go over the interception challenges.
Sure. Does my screen look good?
Let's see. Yep, it's perfect.
Sweet. Yeah, so I'll be going over interception 1, and then I'll very briefly touch on 2 and 3, because I know we are taking up time. But yeah, basically, if you took the hint, you got a network diagram, which I think was pretty helpful. And the gist of these challenges was you connect to them over SSH, and it drops you into what's actually more like a console connection into this box. And if you run IPA, you'll see that, as the map indicates, you are IP address, .3, and you are on this little network. There's no router or anything, it's just one singular subnet. So the challenge is, .1 over here, and we can ping it, is sending the flag periodically once per second to .2. So the idea is, how can we intercept this? Most people's first thought was run TCP dump, and that is a great idea. However, you'll see it's empty. We don't actually get any packets. And the reason that's happening is we are behind a switch, right? As most modern Ethernet networks are. 192.168.0.1, it's going to transmit that Ethernet frame containing an IP packet to .2. And that Ethernet frame is addressed to the MAC address of .2, right? So when it goes through the switch is only going to forward it out to this interface. And we over here are not going to see anything, hence why the TCP dump is empty. So before we figure out how to, attack this, we should ask, how does .1 actually know the MAC address of .2? And the answer to that is a protocol called ARP, the Address Resolution Protocol. So if we run IPNA, that stands for neighbor, oops, whatever, IPNA, we can see our local ARP table, right? So our computer knows that address 192.168.0.2 is over here at this MAC address. And .1 over here, it has a similar ARP table running on itself. It knows that .2 is over here at that MAC address, and the reason it knows that is when it first needs to send a packet to .2, it sends out an ARP request, and .2 responds. It says, hello, I am over here at this MAC address. So if you want to send frames to me, you send it to this MAC address. Now ARP is completely insecure, so to speak. You can secure it, but it's usually not. So we can basically abuse it. We can send what's called a gratuitous ARP. We can just say, hey everybody, I 192.168.0.2, wink wink, am actually over here at this MAC address. So send all the packets to me. And the way we pull that off is pretty simple. The implementation seems to vary between people, but first we can just flush our addresses. So remove all the addresses, right? And then we can just add one. Oops. So now we have the .2 address on the interface. The problem is this is purely a local change. We haven't actually told anybody about this change, so the packets are probably still going this way. If sometimes you can get lucky with the timing, like right now, if 192.168 happens to transmit an ARP request and you happen to respond to it first, maybe you'll start receiving the traffic. But what you really want to do is use this tool called rping, right? If you do -h, and by the way, how do you know this is on the box? If you do ARP and then you spam tab, you'll see that it's there. Tab complete is great, guys. Use it. But anyways, you'll see there's a... Oh, sorry, wrong command. You'll see there's an ARP answer mode, as it says, update your neighbors. So we're just going to do rping -a for the IP address that we have, acquired. We're going to let it run for a second. It's going to transmit, as it says, 3 broadcasts. It just told the entire network that IP address .2 is over here. And now if we run TCP dump again, sure enough, my syntax is wrong, sorry. Capital A, lowercase n. Sure enough, the packets are now coming to us. And that's the flag right there. So hopefully that made sense. Check briefly if there's any questions over here. Don't see anything.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good explanation. Do you want to briefly go over, kind of just give some hints for the other two?
Sure, just take like 1 minute to explain them.
Sure. Or yeah, and I can look for questions.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, I will briefly explain the other two. Yeah, let's go ahead and connect. This one, you'll notice that these dots actually, there's a lot more dots, right? And if you're clever about it, you might realize that's the process of all these unrelated IP addresses being added to your network, right? So if we ping at random, I'll just, kind of briefly summarize this. I won't go into a ton of detail. point is addresses 0 to 90 are filled, and if we do an nmap of them, we want to specify it, look for the port that's open, right? The gist of this is, this time the flag is being sent with TCP, which means the recipient needs to actually have port 8000 open. And sure enough, it just found that for that IP address, that is the only IP address on this network that has port 8000 open. So you just repeat the same exact sort of take over the IP and spoof it with ARP. Same exact thing as the previous one, but with that IP address. The only other catch is, because this is TCP, despite the name, TCP dump won't work because you are not actually a server, right? So you're just gonna, I forget what the terminology is, you're just gonna send like a TCP reset or something, you know? You need to actually run a server using probably netcat. So you want to do netcat listen 8000, and if I had spoofed that IP, I would now be receiving the flag there. So that's the gist of number 2. Number 3 was definitely the hardest one, and because, as you can see, the network is pretty massive, it took a bunch of resources, so you had to use the flag from part 1 to get as a bit of a gate. And again, I won't go into full detail on this. Let's take like 30 seconds or so. I don't think it's even going to load. There it is. Basically, the gist is, as you can see, you're over here, you're behind this router. And this host over here, which is on a completely separate subnet, is sending over here to this subnet the flag over, again, UDP 8000. So you are on a totally different network. You need to, first things first, somehow break out of this little subnet you're in. So if you nmap the router, you'll see it has telnet open. We can connect to it with telnet. The password is in the hint. It's like root admin. And you can see it's a router with a bunch of interfaces on it. And I won't go into the full details of how to solve it, but the gist is it's running a program called Bird, which is the Bird Internet Routing Daemon. I love that name. And it's running a protocol, well, it's running a routing protocol called OSPF, Open Shortest Path First, which is pretty insecure. It's meant for like internal use, not external use. Like if someone gets onto your OSPF routers, they can, it's not a protocol you want to run with untrusted people. And the gist of it is basically, let me remember where the config file is. If you're familiar with like routing metrics at all, obviously for this router to route to this one, the best metric is over this link because it's, you know, direct. But if you actually pop open that config file, oh, it's a little, down here, the actual costs of the links are defined. And basically you can just set it in OSPF that, well, I guess I can just do it now. You can just have it say that this link from the sales department to the executive department is very low cost. And then if we run birdc, God, can't type today, and configure, now we have convinced this router over here that this link, which is cost, I believe, 6, plus this link, which is cost 1, is going to be a total cost of 7, as opposed to this cost, which is 8. So now it's going to be routing all of its traffic through us. And, oh man, I accidentally hit Control-D twice. And if we do the TCP dump now, wrong interface. I probably just did something wrong, but you know,
you can always
there are write-ups.
Yeah, there are probably some write-ups already in the server, and you can always, you know, answer questions there. So
yeah, there's some very good ones in the server from a bunch of people. But yeah, hope it was fun.
Yeah, I think it was a great challenge, and we had some issues with it at first. And what we ended up doing is we actually spun up 10 copies of the exact same server. So we had, I don't know, like 10, 11 different virtual machines, each of them with 4 to 8 gigs of RAM, dedicated just to running these challenges. And I think in the end, it ended up being pretty fast. So
yeah, thank you for saving them.
Cool. Well, I think there was a question for one more challenge, but I think it was about sugar and spice. That was a pretty difficult hash cracking challenge, and I think you'll probably find some solutions in the Discord server as well. So now I'll turn over to Mariah for a few final notes.
Thanks, Roman. So before we pass it over for Q&A, talking about some of the new challenges that will open, we do want to basically share. So for this competition, at least for me, and I know a lot of others on the team, it's successful if you all learn something new. So I do want to ask if all of you learned something new, and I also want to encourage you that if you did learn something, throughout this competition, don't just leave it at this competition. If you have other students that you work with or other teams, make sure to share what you learned during this competition with other people, whether it's in other CTFs or if it's in your day-to-day job or whatever it might be. I know some of you might come to CTFs be like, I'm here to win and that's all I'm here to do. That's great, more power to you, but I hope that you still learn something. And I hope that you still take whatever you learn from here and then share it with somebody new in the future. So thank you all again for participating, and I'll pass it back over to Roman to do some Q&A.
Sounds good. So first, I said I'm going to talk about it later, and I guess finally is the time. But we have a write-ups challenge. So if you make any, so for those of you who don't know, write-ups are, I guess, like the CTF industry standard term for solutions. So if you write up any solutions or descriptions on how to solve the challenges, you can submit them on this link, and it'll just bring up a Google form. It does ask you to log in because there is a feature to upload files, and I think Google requires you to be logged in order to upload files. But if you don't want to log in through Google or don't have a Google account, just let us know and we'll find a different way to get that. But you're welcome to publish these solutions on your blogs. The potential difficulty with that is that someone else might copy it. So if you want to do that, you can wait a bit until the deadline. But please post your write-ups. You can submit multiple write-ups, and then at the end we'll go through them, and we'll award at least top 5 write-ups as prize and send them swag. We recently did publish our own blog. So if you want to publish a write-up on our blog, you can also submit that form. We'll ask you for your permission. We'll credit you. But yeah, and let's see. Yeah, so the deadline is December 15th at midnight, at the end of day, UTC. And so the last thing I want to talk about is prizes. We've had a lot of different prize categories and a lot of different, raffles, mini games. And so I just wanted to give you an update of how these things are going to work. So on the website, you might have seen that we're going to award top 5 prizes, $2,000, $1,000, $500, and $200. So those are going to go to the top 5 teams, regardless of their student or non-student affiliation. After we're going to go, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go and contact the top student teams, and we're going to confirm with them that they're actually students. So we're going to ask them to provide some verification, provide some student IDs of whether or not they're students. And after that, we might, so if those students, are not actually students, or if they, we'll go through it and we'll make sure the top 3 students, regardless of how they placed on the main scoreboard, will still get prizes. Everybody on the top 50 teams will get swag shipped to them. If you are international, I think we might have to ship them all to one place as opposed to multiple different locations. But all of you will get email addresses after the competition asking you to provide your address or some additional information so we can actually get it to you. We probably will not ship the swag until early next year, partially because we don't want to overwhelm the postal service during holidays, because it's probably going to be really busy and we don't want to contribute to that. But also we don't really have the shirts ready yet, and I'm going to talk about that later. But we are definitely going to send it to you. But when you fill out the form that asks you for your address, please, for example, if you're a student and you know that you're going to be living in a different place, starting in January, please enter that address. And you can always email us if it changes. We'll do that. It'll be top 50 teams overall. So not just students. It'll be top 50 teams. So somewhere about 200 top participants. And depending on how much swag we have left, we might increase it to more people. So you might have noticed that some of the prizes were the OSCP vouchers. So we're gonna once again talk to the top teams, top student teams. We're gonna confirm that they're students, and we're gonna offer them the OSCP voucher instead of the monetary prize. If they all accept, then that's all the vouchers we have. If they don't accept, we're gonna take the top 3 student teams. We're gonna raffle them for the same chance to those top 3 teams. And the money that we would have paid as a prize, we'll spend that on additional swag, additional prizes for participants and raffles. So some of you might have noticed that we had a raffle for participants who registered before November 20th. So we're going to do that. We're going to send you all emails. And I think we have at least 10 prizes. Some of them include Hack 5, Buy 5 pineapples. We have some more prizes. But once again, we're going to email you all. We're going to so it might take some time because no one on our team has slept for quite some time. But when we get some rest, and we have a chance to look at all the names and figure out who won everything, we'll send you that information and question. For mini games, we'll do the same. You'll get the same swag as everybody else. If you didn't get it in top 50, and you'll get an additional mini prize. And as I mentioned, we'll not ship it until early next year. Let me take a look if I had any other notes. So we're also gonna, if you participated in our CTF last year, we provided PDF certificates that told you your name, your team name, and how well you placed. We're going to do that again, probably later this week. But you'll be able to generate PDF participation certificates, and they'll tell roughly what place you're in. We will publish scores on CTF time as they are currently in on the scoreboard also next week. Before we do that, as soon as possible, if your name does not match the name on CTF time exactly, let us know, and we'll try to change your team. We might change your team name. Let's see. Okay. If you have any questions, please post them. And the last slide. Thank you once again. If you have any feedback, we would love to hear it. Please go to this link to submit it. We might change some rules for next year, depending on the feedback, and we'll talk to a lot of different other CTF organizers and see what they think. But we're always trying to improve. We're always going to have some issues, but we're trying to resolve them for next year. And we hope you join us again. I alluded to it, but we don't have shirts printed yet. And we don't have shirts printed yet because we haven't finalized our logo. We have some ideas. We have some, we have logos that we can use for shirts, but we do want to come up with something more fun. And so if you have the t-shirt design, if you have any ideas for a t-shirt design for this year, whether it's related to Mr. Kaysen, whether it's related to just the CyberGames competition, we're going to do a small competition. Top person who places whose logo we might pick, you'll get free swag, and we'll probably give you some other either monetary prize or something else. But we'll follow up with more details in an email after this competition. We might also publish some kind of merch store, so stay tuned. And the last thing I wanted to say is we're hiring. So our team, our MetaCTF team, we run a lot of events every year. Since our inception a few years ago, we already ran over, I think at this point, over 80 competitions, over 80 CTF competitions. And we as soon as CyberGames is over, we already have 2 more to run next week. And so we'll always need more content. We always need people to help us, write the challenges and help us organize the content. We have need some help, making changes to the platform, adding additional features. So if you want to be a part of our team, please send us an email. That's wrong. Well, you can send it here, but let me modify it. You can send it to our contact email address, and we'll follow up with you. But once again, would love to, to have you join us. So that's it. I'm going to stay here for a few more minutes. Maybe if anybody else wants to join, let me know onto this call. Let me know in the chat if you want to join. But we'll stay here for a few more minutes, just answering questions if anybody has anything, and then our team will go and sleep. Let's see. I'll go back to the write-up link right here, metactf.com.io/write-ups, and I'm going to publish it here as well. Well, thank you all for participating. Oh, and I realized that there's a delay. So when I asked you all for questions, it's going to take you 30 seconds at least to hear me ask you for questions. Let's see. Yeah, so the challenges will remain open for quite some time. We said the same thing in 2020, that we don't really have a timeline. We're going to release, keep them open for some time, and they are still available. So it might be 2 months, it might be a year. We are working on some exciting projects where, over the years we compiled this huge library of content that covers a lot of really good cybersecurity topics and basics, and we want to release it. And so we might have some other ongoing competition that people can use as practice where we update content, but also stay tuned for that. Cool. Well, I will see if I can go to a different slide for closing. All right, well, hope you all had fun. We'll see you all next year.